Reddit. Tonight my boyfriend made me choose between him and my dog. I chose my dog. What other ridiculous ultimatums has someone given you? I was working at Outback and called out on a Monday night for an orientation meeting at my school. My boss said you have to choose Outback or school. Easiest decision I ever made. This statement comes after us going through a rough patch. 6 weeks of fighting non-stop and breaking up because he wasn't interested in the relationship. That makes me think that maybe it wasn't really just about the dog. As a man who really doesn't like cute little dogs, I can confirm that it really might just be the dog. Was dating this girl for a few weeks. After a while she told me she's vegetarian and didn't want me to eat meat around her, and was all fine with that. But then time went by and she forced me to choose between her or meat. The meat won. Don't frick with my meat. I had a friend that was like this. Her BF at the time went vegetarian for her and she straight up told him later she wouldn't have continued to date him if he hadn't. And then was confused why other people thought this was shallow and mildly crazy. I get wanting to share your morals, ethics, beliefs with your so, but you don't force it. That's just nuts. You should leave now, or else I'm going to have sex with you. What? I'm sure a bunch of people have already said it, but he didn't actually expect you to choose. He did that because he wanted to break up with you and didn't want to go through the trouble of actually doing it. I wonder what he would have done if she had complied and said she'd give the dog to her parents or something. My dad just told me to shave or I wouldn't get dinner because I look like a hobo. I was planning to stick it out a bit longer, but my girlfriend agreed with him. OTL. Studying for a huge exam I had the following day or spending the night talking with my girlfriend because she was upset that I left the shower head facing in the wrong direction, which made her get wet when she turned it on. Called me selfish, etc. Ended up having about 1 hour sleep that night. Did poorly on the test. Missed out on a first class degree by about 0.5%. My second boyfriend, X-Face, dated me during our junior year of high school. I was having extremely bad anxiety problems. Bad enough that my dad, who is pretty anti-doctor, took me to a doc, who put me on Zoloft to try and combat the 2 daily panic attacks I was having. Unfortunately, the Zoloft didn't make me less batshit buggo, it just made me freaking exhausted. And X-Face didn't appreciate me being sleepy all the time. Instead of taking a 5-mile hike, we'd have to do a 2-mile one. I wouldn't stay late at his house on the weekends because I didn't want to drive home late at night when I was so exhausted I couldn't hold my eyes open. And so on. What slapped my eyes open to how much a jerk he was being was when, at a school lock-in movie night, you pay $10 person to get locked in the gym with your friends, movies on a projector, and cold pizza. I fell asleep during one of the movies. He got ridiculously pissed at me and demanded I stop taking the medication when I was around him because it was disrespectful. Now, I have anxiety problems, not mental retardation, so I was smart enough to dump that butthole. I ended up stopping the Zoloft, too, but that's only because I started losing chunks of my days and it was bothering me to not remember crap. I am sorry to hear about that. I hope you are doing better. I once had a GF that would get extremely mad at me when I would fall asleep watching movies, etc. I can't help that I fall asleep easily and I tried my best not to. I am not trying to relate to your story as you went through a heck of a lot more than I did. I just wanted to reinforce your feelings on how shallow some people can be. 5 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with brain tumors. She was hospitalized to get 3 clementine-sized tumors removed and remain hospitalized for 3 months. My girlfriend at the time told me to stay with her because she had a runny nose, and my mom would pull through because she was a strong lady. I told my ex to blow it out her butt, and went to support my mom. She pulled through and is still kicking to this day. Maybe I'm alone in my thoughts here, but I definitely think animals can be a deal breaker either way. While not really relevant to your situation, because your ex is a total butt, I can understand how animals can end relationships. I love animals and could never be with someone long term who hated them. But it also goes the other way too. I bet there's some people who could never have a partner with a pet. It's probably better that this happened now, assuming this is a real reason, which I doubt, than when you were living together in another country. Or if the animal is terribly trained. It is exhausting to clean up destroyed things, deal with behavioral issues every day. When I started dating my girlfriend, she had a dog. Just recently we had to put him down due to canine lymphoma. I've never been a dog person, but both of us bawled our eyes out together. If you love someone, you put effort into taking care of and loving the things they love. I can't sympathize with any guy who puts his girlfriend in this situation. It really depends on the dog. I've met some yappy, bitty, ill-behaved little mutts that I would like to kick off a bridge. In 9th grade, I was 14. A boy I dated and only kissed told me if I didn't blow him he would dump me. I dumped him then. Glad to hear you had enough self-worth during the terrible teen years to get rid of his butt. Way back when my GF told me she had considered making me choose between a close female friend of mine and her, but she never did. She realized that ultimatums just don't help build a healthy relationship, and I am very glad she did. I wouldn't have chosen her, in my opinion. People who are handing out ultimatums do not respect you as a person and do not deserve your time, affection, and energy. I think the only acceptable time for a person to make someone choose between two things is if one of those things is a drug addiction, dangerous habit, second so. Otherwise that person is just a power tripping butthole, am I right? Or something like a medical condition. I am allergic to some dogs, so ultimatum to get a hypoallergenic one. Good thing Samoyeds and poodles are so fluffy. I've always said that if I marry I would have a one-sentence prenup agreement. It would state that my dog is my dog and there is no agreement of custodial ownership of any kind. So yeah, I totally can understand your adamant stance to stick with the dog. At least you know your dog will be loyal, interested in you, and at your side. That is until Simwaves opens a snack wrapper. Stay positive. Thanks, at the minute because my boyfriend hasn't been there as much lately because of the fighting etc. My dog has been my comfort and my savior. She's more reliable than he is right now. If this is the kind of controlling stunts he's going to pull while I'm still at home, I don't want to move to a strange country with him by myself. Just today my boyfriend was trying to make me choose between him and my best friend of 16 years, so we practically are siblings. I've only been with my boyfriend for a year. I still ended up keeping both though. I pretty much unleashed a beast on his butt about how stupid he was acting. He ended up apologizing and saying sorry. PFFFT, you don't frick with me and my best friend's relationship. I once gave a girlfriend an ultimatum to choose between me and secretly contacting and meeting up with her ex. Is that out of order? Yes, way out of order. Secretly contacting an ex should be an automatic breakup. I once yelled at my wife, stop seeing that man or get the heck out of my house. She divorced me, took the house, and stuck with the guy. I'm homeless, jobless and an alcoholic. You are either a liar or you had the worst divorce lawyer in history. I gave my wife an ultimatum on her smoking before we got married. Outside only. Told her I would not kiss her unless she brushed her teeth after she'd smoke either. Thankfully she didn't smoke much, 2-3 a day. When my health started to deteriorate I told her it was me or the cigarettes. It's been 6 years now since she's quit. So you were going to an entirely new country with your boyfriend, had planned that far, but aren't now because he refused to move with your dog? There are so many fricked problems in this, it's hard to unbox it all. I'd consider yourself lucky. It could have been much worse. Break up after move, ect. It's certainly happened before. Those ultimatums are actually awesome because your boyfriend forced you to think that he is a bad person and you should abandon him immediately. That is way better than have doubts for years before leaving him. I've given my current wife some months to sort some debts out she has. For people not understanding this, I've been providing for 4 years now, and she told me 2 months ago she has credit card debt of over £10k. Why the frick? She spent it all on clothes, shoes. On top of all this, because of her now crappy credit rating, the cheapest house I can get is at 17%. Reading this back it sounds horrible. I wouldn't break up. I'd divorce her just so I can get a house under 5%. Marshall, how could you? My ex proposed and asked me to move across the country with him or staying with my family, friends and the degree I'd worked 4 years to get. I chose to stay. If and so would make me choose between them and that empty cardboard box over there, I'd choose the cardboard box. Purely out of principle. What kind of relationship would it be if they'd make it an ultimatum every time they didn't like something? Summary. Good choice. Adhering to my username though, after being with him for at least 6 months, I wouldn't say you necessarily dodged him. My psychotic ex-girlfriend made me choose between her and a female LiveJournal friend that I had. I had never met this LJ friend in person. We lived a couple thousand miles apart and never had any remotely romantic connection whatsoever. I just thought her posts were funny and commented on them. This drove my girlfriend nuts. It makes me angry just thinking about how long I stayed with this crazy person. That's pretty dumb of your ex. But some dog people can be absolutely obnoxious about their pets, and if you're a person that doesn't like dogs, then living with this situation can be stressful. Along with the hassle of taking care of an animal that you don't even consider yours when you live with someone with a pet. Because, let's face it, your ex would, at some point, be responsible for feeding, walking, general caretaking of the dog when you aren't around. I still agree with you. Just trying to look at it from his perspective. Sounds like you had other problems anyway, so his ultimatum was probably just a way out of the relationship. My girlfriend's son robbed my shop of goods over a 3-4 month period when I first opened it and gave him a chance to get some experience in the industry. 4 months after I found out, meet him and get along with him or else we're over. I was visiting my now ex for a few days and found out on the day that I was returning home, a friend of mine from college was visiting another friend who lives in my neighborhood. The visiting friend had just gotten out of a bad relationship and asked if I would be around to hang out and help cheer her up. I mentioned I was going to meet up with them when I got home, and my girlfriend basically said, "You are only leaving today to hang out with her." If I left, it meant I cared more about my friend than her. I am now happily single. My ex-GF threatened me with leaving for playing computer games. We were fighting on and on. It wasn't like I never came by or anything. I almost spent every day at her house sleeping there and stuff. She called me once while I was on my computer and completely enraged because she heard me hitting the keyboard while being on the phone with her. So I went to her place instantly. She was taking bath in this moment, and I asked her if she would leave me for playing computer games. BTW, she used to smoke weed and do other things, and in her arrogance, she answered yes, because playing computer games is the worst thing ever. Unbelievable gunshot in my face. So I answered okay, alright, then that's it. See ya. Called my guys and went straight into a bar for some pints. Man, that felt good. Okay, this will get either hardly noticed or downvoted as heck. Don't bash pets on Reddit, they said, but WTF. As a male who has been in the same situation as your boyfriend, I'm playing devil's advocate here. Some people just love pets. Some other cruel people hate them. But there is another group of people, like me, that generally enjoys the company of pets but has some issues with some pet behaviors. Often these issues are more addressed to the way people educate pets. As an example, is your dog allowed on the couch? Is your dog allowed to sleep in your bed? Does your dog sometimes receive more attention than your boyfriend? Do you spend much time cooking your dog's meals, shopping for dog accessories, going to pet salon and or the vet for non-primary issues? If any answer is yes, this could bother your boyfriend. Male humans need to be alpha, and they don't want their territory and benefits reduced by the presence of a domestic animal. Probably he has had these issues from the moment you got the puppy, but has chosen the silence, then explosion way of expression, which is a typical male thinking process. I don't want to say anything because I could screw up our relationship. I'll just try to get along with that dog and the way she treats him. 6 months later. Frick it. I can't take it anymore. I need to vent. Probably the 6 weeks of rough time did not help, either. So I'm going to stick with the most useful advice in our sex and our relationships, which is, talk to him. Try to understand why he can't stand your puppy. Offer to slightly change the way you are raising the puppy. For example, promise that the dog won't be allowed in the bedroom after the first nights. This is not a big deal for you or for the puppy, but could be really important for your BF. TL. DR. Maybe your BF is not on a chat. I had my girlfriend choose her dogs over me. We had been dating for 2 years. She had her dogs for 1. We had moved into an apartment together and brought the dogs with us, but they weren't on our lease. We couldn't afford to pay $700 plus as a deposit. Now, you have to realize, I never wanted her to get the dogs. From the moment she got them, I had told her she couldn't afford them. They would tear stuff up. Anyways, our apartment complex found out about them and have us a $300 fee. I didn't want to get kicked out of my apartment over a couple of dogs. So I told her she needed to find a new home for them, or get them fixed and put a deposit on them. She spent 3 months fighting me about it instead of saving up to pay for it, and eventually, she decided to cheat on me just to get the guy to watch her dogs for her. She moved out and got her own apartment. Eventually, 2 months later, she had to get rid of them anyways. They were tearing up her entire apartment and she couldn't handle them. TLDR. Ex left me over her dogs and cheated on me for them. She ended up getting rid of them anyways. I guess there are always 2 sides to the story. Have you ever met a girl that you tried to date, but a year to make love she wanted you to wait? Let me tell you a story of my situation. I was talking to this girl from the US nation. The way that I met her was on tour at a concert. She had long hair and a short miniskirt. I just got on stage dripping, pouring with sweat. I was walking through the crowd and guess who I met? I whispered in her ear, "Come to the picture booth, so I can ask you some questions to see if you are 100 proof." I asked her her name. She said blah blah blah. She had 9/10 pants and a very big bra. I took a couple of flicks and she was enthused. I said, "How do you like the show?" She said, "I was very amused." I started throwing bass. She started throwing back mid-range. But when I sprung the question, she acted kind of strange. Then when I asked, "Do you have a man?" she tried to pretend. She said, "No I don't. I only have a friend." Colby 2012. 9/10 would be confused again. He was asking the correct question and found before wasting any more time trying more that you care for your dog more than you care for him. I would have asked the same question only sooner. Holy heck, this thread is full of whiny people who write as if they are 14-year-olds. We know nothing of the situation, really, and people jump to conclusions like all ultimatums are bad. Really? Unconditional love, when conditions are sometimes needed, ain't love, folks. When I was a young hippie, I was with a man who was a very devoted, spiritual Buddhist. After many months of living in dingy basements and sharing every modest bowl of rice and beans we had with each other, he took me to meet his parents. We arrived in the swarmy oppression of Georgia's heat. I didn't know what to expect, honestly. My boyfriend was very mysterious. Pondering, I thought, a monastery most likely, but I wasn't expecting this. Mansions. In the multiple, 2 of them. His parents were architects and they had each built their own neighboring mansions, taking the "I love Lucy, sleeping in separate beds" thing to the extreme. It suddenly dawned on me, oh god, this man is a trustafarian. I've been duped. With no other options available, I proceed into one of the elaborate households hand in hand with my barefooted beau. I, in all my dreadlock grunge, was immediately ignored. My man was met with shock and appalled by his headstrong father. "Get a haircut, or I'm disowning you. You could scoop the tension with a silver spoon." All ultimatums are ridiculous. The harsh reality is that your boyfriend was going to break up with you anyways, but he wasn't strong enough to do it himself. So he picked something that you wouldn't compromise on to make the breakup your fault. Well, this was back when I was in 10th grade. 2 years ago, my GF was frustrated that I wasn't giving her enough attention and preferred my Xbox over her. Factor in a few fights here and there over the course of 3 weeks. She confronted me with an ultimatum after school. "It's either me or that goddamned Xbox you play on every day. Which do you choose?" I went with my Xbox. I might get flack for doing this, but there's a reasoning behind my madness. Turns out she wasn't so much of a faithful GF as I thought her to be. She was always cheating on guys and could never land a real relationship that lasted more than 2 weeks. My ex made me choose between my best friend at the time and her. In my opinion, anyone who makes you choose between friends is a C. I once tried to break up with a girl because her cat caused me to have severe allergic reactions every time I went over to her place. I am mildly allergic, but her housekeeping was less than desired and the breed was really causing me problems. She chose to get rid of the cat and even went as far as putting it down, which I never wanted, asked for, or would have accepted. We lasted about a year and she still blames me for making her kill her cat. 5th grade, B. Mariah told me to choose either her or Amanda. She said I can't have two best friends. I choose solitude instead. I told my ex to choose between me and the drugs. She stopped the drugs for maybe a week at most and then I dumped her. She was wacko and emotionally abusive. The dog was a ruse. Your ex had no interest in continuing your relationship. If he'd truly been unhappy with your animal, there'd have been many clues before this argument. No clue? False argument. Some people just don't get it. In regards to pets, the word is a misnomer. Many animal lovers don't regard their pets as pets. They regard them as family. They show them the love and care you would a family member, go to lengths to ensure their health and safety, comfort them in times of need, and grieve when they pass. No, I'm not going to disown my current family member to potentially gain a new one who is less loyal, trusting, and cute. Come give me a BJ or I will never speak to you again. Some ex-boyfriend who I hadn't heard of in over 6 months, at 2 AM. We haven't spoken again since then. When I was 16 my mother didn't approve of my girlfriend. I now completely understand and thank her. So my mother kept us under close watch and didn't want me going over to her house. One night my girlfriend told me she was running away and that I need to either leave my home, mother and family to go with her, or never speak to her again. No idea where she is now. For me, I'm not a dog person. I have a high tolerance for well-trained dogs. If your dog isn't well-trained, it will act out. Pursuing a relationship with someone who has a crappy dog is incredibly difficult, regardless of how much you love the person. If it isn't trained and acts out, barks all the time, has pungent odors, craps in the house, the ultimatum makes absolute sense. If cohabitation is the plan, small yippy dogs are the worst. My brain literally shuts down when dogs howl constantly. Dogs aren't for everyone and unfortunately dog owners fail to see this. It's like they think everyone should love their dog. Sorry folks, it's just not the case. If he articulated why he dislikes this dog and it's interfering with your relationship, then he's just telling you how he feels. If he's not more important than your dog, then he's probably not right for you and you are not right for him. Honestly, there isn't enough information here without suspecting bias. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.